Hello, this is Christian. Welcome to episode 2 of this series. This one we're going to talk about classes. It's sort of a review basically. So classes are divided into two categories. We have the concrete classes and the abstract classes. So concrete classes are usually the classes you see all the time. You use it to create objects and things like that. So it's more common to have concrete classes. It's, you can see here, it has a constructor. You don't have to explicitly create one, but you can. And then it can have more than one data members or methods if you choose to have them. They can be empty, it doesn't really matter. But what's important is that it's used to create objects. So, okay, you cannot create objects without a concrete class. That is the rule for pretty much all object-oriented languages. Okay, so it cannot have abstract methods. That's just makes sense because only abstract class can have abstract methods. So let's take a look at the abstract classes. So you can see very similar. It can have both the regular standard full methods and the abstract methods. Okay, any abstract methods that you create must be implemented by the subclass if the subclass is a concrete class. Okay, then it does have the constructor, although it will not be able to, you cannot be able to use it to create objects directly. You can use this constructor to create objects of a subclass, which is a concrete class, right? And then, yeah, that's pretty much about it. So just mainly a few slight differences between the two there. So let's go and see how this is done in PHP. So here I'm going to go to my demo folder, and why don't we just create a new directory in here? I'll call this classes. Hopefully it's not too confusing. And I'm going to create a, maybe just create a class file. Now I'm going to do it manually. Just create one. We'll call this one just, say, do with the animal kingdom. So I'll call the animals. Okay, just the file name. Okay, so here I'm going to create a class called, what should we call it? I don't know, Mammoth. Okay, so that is the animal kingdom, right? And this class is a concrete class because it doesn't have the word abstract in it. Okay, so a class can extend other class. So up here we can have another class. We call this the animal kingdom. So this class is a parent class. We call this parent class. Parent class is concrete. And then we can extend this parent class using the Mammoth class. So Mammoth extends animal kingdom class. Okay, so we have a relationship here. So this is what's called a relationship. So a mammoth is an animal, right? It belongs in the animal kingdom. So we have two classes. These are both concrete classes. If they're concrete, that means I should be able to create an object. So you can say M is new mammoth, as you can see. Or I can say A is new animal kingdom. Okay, so you can create both objects out of those two classes. The only difference is the mammoth has whatever you have inside here and plus whatever you have in the animal kingdom, except the A has only what's inside the animal kingdom. Okay, so this is a design that maybe because you want to have a unique type of animal, and then has some functionality that is in the animal kingdom, and then here you just want to create an animal kingdom object. Okay, so you can use it this way because they're both concrete. They can create objects. Okay, so you cannot have. So as you can see, I don't have any constructors. Just to show that it does work, right? We know this will work for sure. Let me go into the classes, and then let me clear my console. PHP animals. You can see there's no errors. Okay, so completely fine. Now, when you have well, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to put a constructor here. So in this IDE, if you just type the two underscores, it will give you these default functions, and one of these is the constructor. So if you just do that, it will give that for you very quickly. So here I'm going to echo Mammoth. So we know that this is the Mammoth class, and then up here we'll put the animal kingdom. Okay, so echo animal kingdom. All right, so now just to kind of illustrate this again, if I go and run my code down here again, you will see those two, being rendered. Of course, I did not put any line breaks, so it's kind of ugly, but we see that the Mammoth here and then the animal kingdom here. Okay, so they are both instantiated. And so this is the relationship between the two. As you can see, when I have a constructor in the Mammoth class, this is the child class, and if there is a constructor created in there, it will not invoke the parent constructor. Okay, so just to show you, let's turn off the animal kingdom one. Okay, so if I do that, go down here, if I run it again, you see that it only runs the Mammoth constructor because there's one here. It would stop here, and it does not run the animal kingdom constructor. Okay, let me kind of format this kind of ugly. All right. All right, so that is the rule. If you don't have a constructor here, if I turn that off, then now it will resort to the parent's constructor if there is one. Since there is one, then you see that it's going to call the animal kingdom's constructor, and you see the result here printed, right? Just to prove that. Okay, so it does go up the chain, and if the animal kingdom does not have one, then it goes up the chain either. Also, since it doesn't have any extension here, then it will resort to the super class or super object class of the PHP architecture, and that will have a default constructor which is also empty. Otherwise, you won't be able to create any objects at all, right? You need a constructor to create an object, whether that constructor is in a concrete class or in an abstract class. It doesn't matter, or even in a trait. Okay, so either one will work as well. We'll learn a little bit more when we talk about interfaces. Traits later. Okay, so these are two concrete classes, and again, the rule is that you cannot have abstract methods. And so this is just a method, right? So let me go down here and turn this back on. And by that I mean you cannot have a function, say public. Let me have a public function called show. Okay, this is another function, very simple one. And to make it abstract, you cannot put like public abstract. Okay, you cannot have abstract function there because if you mouse over that, it tells you method should either have body or be abstract. Okay, it just means that you cannot have abstract class and method because this is not an abstract class. So if I were to maybe just do this. If I put that up here instead. Okay, so if I want to turn the animal kingdom class into abstract class, then you can put the word abstract in front of that class. If I can spell that correctly. So you can see that now I have an abstract class. This is now an abstract class. Yeah, I can extend that. I'll talk about the error in a minute. But let me just turn this off for now so you can see. No errors, right? It will just fine as before. If I were to run this again, it will just be normal, just like that. You see the Mammoth has been printed because we have the constructor here. Up here we have the constructor also because it follows the same rule. If I turn this off, and just gives them some white spaces, you see that if I run it, it should show the animal kingdom. You see here, okay? So same rules here. Now, because this is an abstract class, I cannot create object out of it anymore. So I cannot go down here and say, A is new animal kingdom. As you can see, if I type that, it won't show up anymore. Okay. If I try to do that, it tells me right away that I cannot have that scenario. If I try to run it, it's going to give you an error. It says cannot instantiate abstract class kingdom. All right. So you cannot do that directly. But I could do it indirectly. You saw I did in the Mammoth here, and it's fine. So if I do that, does that mean this M here, is it a Mammoth class or is it a animal kingdom class? How do we know? Since you can use its constructor to create an object, right? But the object created here is not an animal kingdom object. It is still a Mammoth object because it's a concrete class. Remember, the rule is concrete class can only create objects through concrete class. So just to show that, we can go here, we can echo, or we can dump the variable. I want to do a dump here. You can get something like the get class, and the class will tell you what M belongs to. Okay, so if M is indeed a Mammoth class, then it's going to print the name of the Mammoth class. Otherwise, it should print the Animal Kingdom class. So if I go and dump that here in terminal, and you will see that it does print here, right, the Mammoth class. So it belongs to the Mammoth class because it's a concrete class. All right. Okay, so here we go, and then now if I turn this function back on, you see some red squiggly lines here. If I mouse over this, it says method should either have body or be abstract. What does that mean? Okay, so it means that if you have a function in the abstract class, and if this function is an abstract, if it's not an abstract, then everything's honky-dory. That's fine. So you can have both the full function like this. It works just fine. I can put here echo show, so we know that is. And right, so show, I can call the show down here. I can say m show, you can see here. So if you run it, of course, it should work. As you can see, it says show right here. I know I did not put any line breaks, but you get the point. So an abstract class can have functions. That's why you're able to have a constructor. It's a complete function. Or you can have an abstract function method. If it's abstract, then you cannot implement. This is implementation. It must be left as only a definition. Okay, and therefore, because it's a definition only, whichever class extends this abstract class must implement this function. If there's one, it must do. If it has 100 of them, it must implement all 100 of them. There's no excuse. Okay, so here, because Mammoth extends the Animal Kingdom abstract class, it must implement this function, whether you have anything in there or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. It's just a rule. Okay, so if you mouse over this, it will tell you you must declare an abstract method or implement the show. Two things. What does it mean? The first part is you must declare abstract. That means this class must also be an abstract. If you don't want to implement that, you must make this class an abstract. So an abstract class can extend another abstract class. Same rule. So the error goes away because these are now no longer being used to create objects. So therefore, whichever class extends either this or this must implement this now, right? And because it's not an abstract, we want that to be a concrete class, you must implement it. So then what do? Okay, you can mouse over this and the IDE will tell you. You can just click here and it will add it automatically for you in here very nicely. Just select that one and you can see it copies that same class method up here. I mean this one here removes the word abstract and then automatically insert that for you to do. And you need to implement this. And so if you leave it as it, it's an empty function, and it's fine because you implemented it, right? It has the curly braces. That's all it's saying. Then it's happy. Everybody's happy. Then everybody's all good. Okay. So that is the rule for abstract functions. And in here, I just showed you that you can have abstract functions in here. All right. So again, this is what's called a function definition. Okay. There's a subtle difference between the word function definition and function declaration. When you define a function, is usually we talk about just these things right here. The modifier, all right, the type, and then name the word function, the name of the function, and then whatever is inside these parentheses. This is the function definition. When we declare a function, it includes the definition and the implementation, whatever is inside the curly braces, whether it's empty or has a lot of stuff in it. So this is a function declaration. It must be complete. A definition, we talk about just that function header. Okay, so just some some terminologies here, and you'll see that people use it, yeah, those two words interchangeably to mean kind of like the same thing, but technically that's the difference. All right, so as you can see, a, a subclass can extend the abstract class, and of course, you can have another abstract class to extend any of these class. It doesn't matter. So I can have another class here. We can call it class. The actual name of I don't know, something. Let's just say test, and this can extend the Mammoth class. Okay, so this is a class, and this class is the concrete class, so it's understood. But this can also be an abstract class, of course, right? So this abstract class, you can see, extends the Mammoth class, it's the concrete class, extends another abstract class, and so on, right? Or I showed you earlier, this class, abstract class, can certainly extend the abstract class also. So the extension here is the same rule. You can use either way. The only, again, just remember that you cannot create objects out of this class. That's all. All right. What else I want to cover here? I think that's pretty much I want to show for this one here. Just remember the rule that abstract class can have abstract methods. It doesn't have to be, okay? It doesn't mean that it must have abstract function. You saw earlier, you don't have to have it. It doesn't really matter, okay? But abstract functions must have an abstract class, must be in it. So it's true the other way around. It's not true one way around. Okay, so I will stop here, and if you have any questions, this is a good review between the two here. So any questions, just let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.